Hello, dear students, online audience. I welcome you all back to today's mathematics class. The topic we have before us today is plane mensuration. Plane mensuration. When we say plane mensuration, it is the aspect of mathematics that deals with the study of properties of objects that has only outer surfaces. We call them plane shapes. Plane shapes. An example of such plane shapes are square. Square. When we say square, this is an object. This is an example of square, a plane shapes. Then we equally have another one, rhombus. Rhombus is equally a plane shape because it has only outer surfaces. Only outer surfaces. There is no inner surface. Then we also have another example of plane shapes, rectangle. Rectangle is a plane shape because it has only outer surfaces. There is no inner surfaces. Then we also have another example, which is parallelogram. Parallelogram. Can you see the shape? Parallelogram. Parallelogram. Just exactly as it is, parallelogram. No inner surface. We only have outer surface. Then the next one is triangle. Triangle is equally a plane shapes. It has only outer surface. There is no inner surface. Another example of plane shape here is trapezium. Trapezium. You can see it. Trapezium. Trapezium. That is a plane shape. Then we have another example of plane shape here, and that is circle. Circle. You can see what I'm holding here. This is circle. Circle. It has only outer surface. There is no inner surface. Then we have the last but not the least, sector. Sector. Sector is an aspect, it's a branch of a circle. You can see what I'm having here. The moment you detach this one from this circle, then this one becomes a sector. This is a major sector, and while this one is a minor sector. So today we are going to deliberate more on the properties of square. Square, the property of square. That is the first one we are going to consider, the property of square. In an attempt to study the properties of square, we have to talk about the perimeter and area. We also talk about the line of symmetry. When we say the perimeter of a square, we mean you measure around that shape. Square has 4 equal sizes, and for us to get the perimeter of a square, is just going to be the product of 4 and 1 of the size. The product of 4 and 1 of the size. Then we also talk about area of a square. Area of a square is the product of 2 sizes. The product of any 2 sizes, and that is length times length, and that gives us L squared. Now let's talk about the line of symmetry. Square has 4 lines of symmetry. When we say line of symmetry, we mean a line that shares the shape into 2 equal parts. If we want to know the number of line of symmetry that square has, we can draw a line from here down to this place. We share it into 2 equal parts. We share it into 2 equal parts. That is 1. We can also draw another one like this. it can also share a square into two equal parts. That is another line of symmetry, making two. We can also draw another one from here, draw it this way, to share the square into two equal parts. That is number 3 line of symmetry. We can equally have another one this way to share the square into two equal parts. That is like this. So a square has 4 lines of symmetry. 4 lines of symmetry. Now let us consider some work example. Work example 1 says, find the perimeter of a square with size 5 cm. This is a square and it has 5 cm. How do we know the perimeter of this square? It's just for us to measure around. One of the sides multiplied by 4, it gives us the perimeter. And so to find the solution to that, we're going to say perimeter is going to be equal to 4L, and that is going to be equal to 4 multiplied by 5, and that gives us 20 centimeter. 20 centimeter. So the correct option here is option C. Option C. Now let us look at work example 2. In work example 2, the question says calculate the area of a square with size 5 centimeter. When we say the area, we mean the space occupied by that plane shape. The space occupied by the plane shape. That is the area. Now, calculate the area of a square with size 5 centimeter. If you want to know the space occupied by this type of square having size 5 centimeter, we are going to say area will be equal to length times length, and that is going to give us 5 times 5. So the result of that will be 25 centimeter square. 25 centimeter square. I want to believe it's very clear. Now, as we proceed in the class, I want to remind us of this important information, that you should try as much as possible to subscribe into this channel. If you have not done so, it is very, very important. And so we quickly come to example 3. In example 3, the question says, if the perimeter of a square plot of land is 20 meters, find its length. Find its length. Now, this is a square having is a square plot of land, and the total perimeter as we measure around is 20 meters. So we are asked to find the length. So we are going to say 4L is equal to perimeter. 4L is equal to perimeter. That is to say, we are going to say 4L is going to be equal to 20 meters. So here we are going to divide both sides by 4. That means we have 4 here. We divide both sides by 4. This one cancels this. We now have L, which is the length, is going to be equal to 5 centimeter or 5 meter. 5 meter. So the correct option here is option C. Let's proceed to number 4. I believe number 3 is very clear to everybody. Alright, now we proceed to number 4. The area of a square assembly ground is 36 meters square. Calculate its length. The area of a square assembly ground is 36 meters square. Calculate its length. For us to solve this problem, we are going to say L squared is equal to the area The area of a square is L square. That means we are going to say L square will be equal to 36, and L will now be equal to square root of 36, and that's going to give us 6 meter. The square root of 36 is 6, and then the most appropriate option here is option A. Option A, 6 meter. Now let's quickly proceed to number 5 finally before we go into class work. The perimeter of a square plot of land is 64 meter. The perimeter of a square plot of land is 64 meter. Find its length. Here also, we're going to say 4L is equal to perimeter. 4L is equal to perimeter. That is to say, 4L is going to be equal to 64. Then we are going to divide both sides by 4. As we divide both sides by 4, we have 4 here. We have 4 here. So we now have 4 here, cancel this one. Then 4 goes in 6. 1. It remains 2. Then 2 with 4, it becomes 24. 4 goes in 24. That is 6. So altogether we have 16. That is to say, L, which is the length, is going to be equal to 16 meter. 16 meter. So the appropriate option is option C. I want to believe it's very clear. That is very good. Once again, before we go into class assessment, I still want to remind you that you should try as much as possible to subscribe into this channel. As we bring today's class to a close, I have some assignment that I want us to consider. Here we have assignments from number 1 to number 14. Assignment number 1, it says they calculate the perimeter of a square plot of land with size 7 meter. Here are the options. Assignment 2, a square school compound has length 7 meter. Find its area. And here are the options as well. Assignment 3, calculate the perimeter of a square school assembly ground with side 10 meter. Here are the options. Number 4, a square school assembly ground has a perimeter of 56 meter. Find the length of its size. This is assignment 4. Now assignment 5. A square farmland has a perimeter of 56 meter. Calculate the area of the farmland. Assignment 6. Calculate the perimeter of a square plot of land with size 8 meter. Here are the options. Assignment 7. A square school compound has side 12 meter. Find its area. Here are the options. You have to choose the appropriate one out of the option. Assignment 8. A square school compound has an area of 49. Find its side. Here are the options. Assignment number 9. The area of a square is 196 meters square. Calculate its perimeter. Here are the options as well. Now let us quickly look at what we have here. Do not forget that I said you should always remember to subscribe into this channel if you have not done so. Now we come to assignment 10. Assignment 10. Calculate the area of a square plot of land with side 15 meter. Here are the options as well. And then number 11. A square farmland has a perimeter 60. Find its area. Here are the options. You choose the appropriate one out of it. Assignment 12. A square playground has an area 144 meters square. Calculate its perimeter. Here are the options as well. And finally, Or number 13, the area of a school assembly ground is 49 meters square. Calculate its perimeter. Here are the options. Finally, number 14, calculate the area of the shaded portion of a square plot of land shown below. Here is a square plot of land. You are asked to calculate the area of the shaded part. The options are also given below. So we have come to the end of today's class. Until we meet again in the next class. Bye for now.